Now it's July.
All set? Good evening. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Town of Pownell Select Board Public Hearing on the Old Town Hall, April 3rd, 2025 at 6 P.M. Can I get board member roll call, please?
Carl Strohmeyer.
Jeannie Alexander.
Mike Gardner,
Jamie Percy.
Brian Harris.
everyone rise for the pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Before I open the meeting for public comment, get a couple of questions for the board. And a couple of parameters that I'd like to set. One of the things I want to do first is people that are in this room that took the time to come here tonight will speak first. That's all right with the board. What do we want to do with a time limit? Do we want to have a time limit? I don't think we should have a time limit. I think we should let it go for questions.
Yep.
Well, that's what we're here for.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But our thing on public comment has always been a 3 minute. I think we should.
Well, that's for regular meetings and stuff.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
just want to stay.
But now this is a special, and it's a public hearing, I guess.
When you speak, whether it's Zoom or in the, please state your name and address so that we know who is. And if you want to come up to a chair, please feel free, but I'm probably there's not a lot that'll jump on that. We may not be able to answer all of the questions tonight. And there's a good chance that we probably won't. We will answer questions on the questions that are asked that we cannot answer tonight the question will be posted on our Facebook page on the website. And the answer will be posted on the Facebook page and our town website. Okay, so that we know that the answer gets out there. Any questions, anybody has any questions after tonight or after Saturday? Please feel free to send those questions to Tara, to the executive assistant. Please don't ask us questions on social media, Facebook or any other forum. Ask us the question through Tara. And then we'll be more than happy to find an answer. Any of the board members have anything before we get started?
Nope.
I don't.
Nope.
We
Thank you.
good?
Thank you for people that come in.
Yeah, thank you. It's a
Yeah.
great turnout. It's
Glad to see people come out.
glad to see. So with that being said, I don't know if everyone got a copy of the survey, but no. There was a survey. I can read this first, or we can open up public comment, however we want to do it.
You should read it.
Yeah, probably a good idea.
So they're all Pownell residents, just to summarize really quick. They did name their names, and they're all Pownell residents. So I don't know if you want to name who said what comment, but I would read the comments, definitely.
Sure. You know what? If somebody attached their name to it, there's a comment on here that I'm not going to read because there is no name attached to it, and I don't consider that a legitimate comment. I'm sorry, that's just my way of thinking. Nate Fowle. Do you live in Pownell? Yes. And I don't have to say that. Everyone does. Tara already said that. How about we use this space as a small business incubator for Pownell residents? We could offer cheap rent to new businesses to test out their model in Pownell. They are successful there. We could offer support in finding a permanent location for the business in town. Maybe there could be a small storefront for local artists to sell their work at the front and some maps and info about the town, almost like a miniature visitor center. Matt Gardner, a community center. Donna Lozon, there has to be more pressing matters than paying staff to dream up ideas for a rundown building. What a pathetic waste of time. Tear it down or sell it. Focus on more important things. Alice Vaca, a multi-use art space. Lawrence Smith, we were told that we needed the new town hall because the old one was moldy to the point of being a health hazard for the workers and deteriorating would cost too much to fix. After 3 years of sitting vacant, I can't imagine the mold and deterioration have improved any, nor that the cost to fix it has gone anywhere but up. Jason Olansky, a community use. Carl Villanueva, it would be great if it were feasible to make it a hangout for the Pownell youth. I think many Pownell residents will be willing to donate furnishings or funds to make it happen. I hope that state building codes and regulations do not allow this to fail. Sorry, excuse me. Give it a chance and let it prove itself. Fred Miller, let it go. Those were the responses that we had for the survey. I will,
If you like.
at this time, taking the glasses off so I can see everything now. I don't need them to read. I'm going to open up for public comment and I will get to everyone. Please just be patient with us. Who would like to go first? Jenny?
Jenny Dewar, not stating my address, but I live on Carpenter Hill Road, Powell. I am completely against using this for anything. We were told that this building was needed because of all of the problems over there. Those problems were not as unsurmountable as we were led to believe. Then we should have just put the schoolhouse on that building and made that the town hall. Part of what we all fought, decided to help fight for this space was the idea that this could also be used for gatherings. And there's no reason this room can't be used for that. If you do that over there, something over there that by the town is not a social services agency. The town is a governing agency. And to mix that kind of social services with government does not make sense. We cannot afford to have our taxes go up. I don't care what grants you get, who opens and closes it, who pays for the heat, who pays for all of the other things that go along with it, who makes sure it's cleaned. That all costs money. And I'm not interested in spending any more money with the property taxes have gone up incredibly by the state. And we don't need to do that in Pownell for no reason. If a social services agency would like to purchase the old town office and do something with it, terrific, but the town should not be responsible for doing that. I'll probably say more later, but that is, I'm a hard no on using it for anything.
Thank you.
Hey,
Anybody else?
I can answer one of them, one piece of that.
There was a question.
Yeah, I didn't know there was a question. That was
That was a
just,
question, no.
no, I didn't see a
Okay.
question. I thought there was a,
I'm not looking for an argument.
nope,
No.
it was a statement.
But there was
Sure.
a question mark.
Right.
No?
Walt Klinger, I live just down on North Pownell Road there. I'm not sure what the fate should be for the building. It seems to be in a condition that maybe it's possible to find someone who will salvage the materials and scrap it and dispose of different problems there. And maybe the town will make a few bucks on paying somebody coming in to buy it, salvage. But what I am concerned with mostly is that if the building is renovated, reused, or torn down, it is really beneficial, I think, and important to preserve and to care for the benchmark that marks the center of the town in the original plot. And it would be really good down the road to get a historic marker created to remind people of that when they come to visit, that this is where Pownell was formed and plotted out. Also, if the building is moved or torn down, I think it adds to the possibility of dealing with the important historic structure, the old church next door, and that could be looked at in the way of historic grants down the road for getting that rebuilt, restored, and the possibility eventually of the cupola put back. Speaking for myself and as a member of the Historical Society, those are the things I think are significant to the town that will endure and be useful 50, 100 years from now that we should look at going forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve?
Steve Coffey, Pownell Center. With all the historians
and the complaints that we had getting this piece of property here underway because of the historical value on a building that was fallen down and been cut up and on fire. And we finally pulled it off to put a building here after 20 years. If you date back, that's a historical building up there, the front section of it. It's also dead center Pownell, period. The marker off the southwest corner of that building, 2 feet, is center Pownell, period. The building is historical. I don't know the records on what money was put into it, say in the last 15 years, but I think it would scare everybody in this room. The amount of money that was dumped into that building, some unnecessary, some necessary. But to tear it down or to do something foolish with it without exploring every possibility to the good of the town, I don't believe anybody's going to rent it. I know any business is going to open up in there for a number of reasons. But I do believe, and I brought it up before, and for some issues, it didn't fly through. I think it's worth entertaining again with the state police on an outfit post up there at a lease for $1 a year or whatever to get somebody in like that. Or maybe the seniors could utilize it. Again, no cost except for $1 lease, maintain it. They have a place. The seniors are part of this town. That would be their own spot. They could do what they like. I don't know about groups anymore. Do we have 4-H groups and stuff? This may be an ideal spot for them to have a home base, which is theirs to utilize, meeting places to do stuff. Years ago, we used to use the Mason's house up in Carpenter Hill. And Coley and Rachel did all the activities at their home. This would be a great plus for the town. Financially, no, there'd be no impact. Financially, the asset to have something in town for the good of the town. I think we really need to explore different avenues and different organizations that are not money-making operations, but are operations for the good of the town, could add to the benefit of the town before we do anything foolish.
Thank you, Steve.
I'll go next. Ian Chiralling, Center Street, Arnold. I think it'd be a good place for a community center. Bennington has the Bennington Rec, the tutorial center, Brock, and every place else that anybody needs any resources they can go to. Pownell is a rural, and a lot of people don't have cars or they can't walk. They do depend on the bus. Williamstown has a community chest. Their mission is to strengthen community by resources for organizations that assist our neighbors in need. Isn't that a lovely thought? That is something that is so needed in Pownell. North Adams has the Uno Community Center. Their mission is to create an inclusive, comfortable, safe, inviting environment for all walks of life to come together to have fun, share resources, celebrate history, and have neighborhood pride. We have, 20 different organizations on our ballots that pass every year. I think it would be lovely if they could come down here and have a space to set up for a day, whatever. I know that we have the library, and the library is trying to do something as well, but unfortunately, they're only open 26 hours a week. This is a building that could be open 24/7 if need be for the agencies. And I'd like to say a little bit about the building. Yes, we were told that there was mold and all this. We didn't find out, the board that was on the board at the time, that this building was going up. We never found the information until we were moving all the paperwork and everything over here, that it wasn't as bad as it was presented to us. So I would really like to see something for our community here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ange. Let me just make sure no one else. Anybody else that hasn't spoken yet, like to comment?
Donna.
Ladies first.
My name's Donna Lozon, and my thoughts are it's 2025. I wish I could afford to be more sentimental about buildings. But if the town can't use it for something of a physical nature, whether it's a spot for animal control, constable, maybe storage, records keeping, then I think it is time to let it go. In fact, I actually think resources could be better spent on finding a way to get the downstairs of this building accessible so that that space could be used in a greater way, perhaps whether it's for town staff or even the community. We do have places that can and do provide meeting space. And to me, that's, we're a small town, we're not as big as Bennington. And I haven't heard of groups saying that they're struggling to find space here in Pownell. I think churches and the library and other areas have been available. So without seeing any groups seeking space, no revenue projected, no idea the issues that could arise in the future, I just feel like it's time to let it go. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. Jim?
Jim Boutin, I live up on the old military road. And first off, I'd like to commend the select board for holding a hearing like this. I think this has been a great idea, a good concept to get community input about this topic. I hope you do the same thing with other things in the town, like the transfer station closing and things like that. This is a good forum. It's a good way to get the information. I commend you for doing that.
Thank you.
As I came here tonight because the paper said there'd be information about that mold study and what happened. There'd be information about the expense of running that operation, that building right now. And I also want to make a comment about the community centers, because I've been working with the library for the past 2 years of trying to make that a community center. And it's been a struggle, but it's working down there. We're doing block parties. We're holding historical things. And oh, by the way, Angie, we'll be open anytime you want us to be open. All you have to do, we have a policy. Come in if you want to hold a meeting or do something down there at the library. We'll open it for you anytime you'd like. So I think we have that in the works. It's a difficult thing to operate. We don't have a lot of participation in this community when it gets to getting people together for certain events. We hold musical events. We've had parties down there, art shows, etc. We get maybe at the most 50 people that show up. That's a lot for any event that we've held. So I want to see the figures. I want to see what it's cost to run that building and what is that mold study? What was it? Where do I find that information? And then when I see it, I'll make a decision as to what I think. But I'm here to get the facts.
Thank you, Jim.
Yep.
I'm with Jim.
Can you state your name, please? Sorry.
Fred Miller, Small Road. My comment was to let it go. We had heard that the mold was pretty serious and it was urgent to get the staff out of that building. And public needs to get out of that building as soon as possible. Later we hear that it wasn't that bad, but it's only hearsay that it wasn't that bad. And if you truly found out that it wasn't that bad, you might. I would suspect that you got another assessment done on it. Mm-hmm. And I'd like to compare the two. I'd like to see how it progressed.
So we just, not to interrupt you, Fred, but because it's come up twice now, there is some handouts here that has. On it. What else is on it, Tara?
They're big reports, so I only made one copy, but I didn't have time to get them electronic, but I can do that and we'll put them on the website.
Okay.
So that you can look at them. There's one from, I believe, 2015, 2017, and 2018, and then you jump to 2022 when I had one done.
So we will provide that electronically. If we needed to provide one, we certainly could, but I didn't realize.
Yeah, it's all here, and there's the cost.
They're big, but not that big.
The electric and heating costs are over here too.
Yep.
There's quite a bit of information here.
Okay, on the issue of living spaces, part of the idea for this was that this would be involved in community activities,
Mhm.
organizations. You don't see that happen really much at all, besides government meetings. I think there's a lot that can be done in this building. Bennington, Williamstown has had a lot of resources, North Adams, for people as far as if it's an issue of accessibility. Resources being spent, maybe spend money on remodel express, and expand the routes to get people to Bennington or connected with North Adams. Rather than, I think it's a we're looking for a big bill. Get to the idea. And I would really like to see the study and any serious proposal on paper to come up with. And I guess the justification for doing anything. Other than.
Thank you, Fred. I know Jenny has, anybody else that hasn't? Okay, Jenny.
I'm gonna respond to some comments that have been made. We'll go down in history as agreeing, with my friend across the room. And I actually agreed on the fighting to get this place built because of the information we were given. So if we're being told that the mold was not a problem after all, then we were duped. And I'm very angry that I helped get this building in any place. Hold on.
I know, I just want to say something about mold.
Okay, but let me finish my statement, please. So community center, for who? There are 15 people here talking about a possible community center. So is there a demand? Are you getting overwhelmed with requests to use this space? Is the library overwhelmed with requests to use that space? Is Faith Church overwhelmed with requests? Is the Legion overwhelmed with requests for community space? I don't think so. They all said no, all the people who run those places. I think that being an event manager by trade, I think there's a lot that goes into scheduling and managing a place like that. I ran the BBC for 2 years. That was the visitor center. It was a full-time freaking job, and I had to get another full-time person to do it with me. So who's going to have that job? Who's going to pay them? There were arguments. The arguments about moving here, not moving here and staying there had nothing to do with the historical aspects. It had all to do with money. Lots of buildings are historical. That doesn't mean that they have to stay up. Otherwise, we would have no new buildings here. We'd have an even bigger housing problem. Seniors can certainly use this space. I don't see why they can't. We were told groups that can meet in the community center, as Fred said. I asked, is there a demand? The town of Bennington doesn't run the rec center and all those other things that Angie mentioned. They're not-for-profits. The town doesn't run the Welcome Center. The Better Bennington Corporation does not work for the town, nor are they funded by the town, nor are they staffed by the town. When I worked there, I did not work for the town of Bennington in any capacity. I did have to go before them to do our budget because the way that was funded, half of the money that funded it was an incremental tax on the downtown businesses. So the town had to approve that tax. But I didn't report to the town in any way. It's a completely separate entity. 24/7, are we saying that's going to be open 24/7? Really? So you need someone who's running it 24 hours a day. And yeah, okay, that's all. I'm making history that Tom and I agree.
Just wanted to share a couple
things.
So as far as the mold in the building, when it was packed full of stuff and you could barely move in there, the mold levels were higher because there was more things for the spores to grow in and on. And then there was lots of analysis done and remediation was done. There was plastic put in the basement and that brought the levels down. You'll see that in the testing. Then when we moved everything out of there, most of it moved to this building. And that's sort of the way it was. I had a new test done and the levels were way down because a lot of the mold is gone. And in the report that I had, the analysis I had done in 2022, it shows that the levels have gotten better and it tells some of the things we can do to get rid of the rest of the mold. But mold is everywhere.
Mhm.
And basically what I was told is that if we leave the building the way it is now, the mold will continue to get worse because the foundation is in disrepair. If you repair the foundation, you keep the water from going into the basement, the mold is not as big of a problem because you're preventing more growth and more spores.
So essentially, we could have just gotten a storage space for all the paper and we could have not built this building
Well,
in the hole for $750,000.
I honestly wasn't even here at that time. I don't know. I mean, I was a resident also that
Right, so
stories and
I don't want to get into a debate. I know, and that's fine, because we're having a great public hearing right now, and I just don't want to get into a debate at all. We will have those mold studies available. And then the debate will happen another time, I'm sure.
I just have one more thing to say about
Yep.
this room. I heard the same thing. I was a resident, a taxpayer at the time. I did not work here. I thought we were going to be able to use this building, this part of the building for the same thing, community use. It is very disruptive to the town office to have things happening in here. And I don't believe that when this building was designed, that it took into account some of those things, or we couldn't really tell the future that it was going to be as big of an issue.
That was going to affect it.
Having things in here. Also, if things are in here, we still have to let people in. We still have to be here and monitor because there are records here. That building would be set up if we were to even go there. It's just throwing around ideas right now, but there would be access that wouldn't include staff time.
Jared, you mentioned that the mold, in order to correct it, the foundation would have to be, did you get any estimates as to what it would cost?
There is one estimate, but it's from 2022 and it's from Aaron Gilbert's company because they were working down here. I had them give an estimate on that. So that is in this paperwork. You'll see it.
And what is that estimate?
Better get that, Stephen.
Oh, there's so many things. Maybe it's not here. I have it in my paper.
2022.
I'll grab it. Oh, sorry, it's right here. It was 3/27/2023, actually, and it was 28,000. And this was to support Old Town Hall meeting room, remove existing wood framed foundation, excavate for footings, frost walls, pour footings, frost walls, stone vapor, barrier the dirt floor, pour concrete slab floor, backfill the exterior. And that does not include permits or engineering fees if there were any.
That's what I wanted to mention. Excuse me. There is no foundation under that building. There is no ventilation under that building, which again creates a problem. If right now, if there was ventilation under it, air would circulate underneath it, which would take care of a lot of problems that exist. We missed some of the point here, and I won't get into the historical parsonage. It's a whole different ball of wax that apparently some people don't understand. I will get into the fact that wasn't the only reason that the town office moved from there. It was in the last 20 years in development to move from there. It needed space. These people that work in these offices didn't have a door. Everybody sat in a room. If you come in to see Tara, you interrupted Mike. If Mike had a customer, it interrupted Brian. No matter what went on in that room, everybody was interrupted. You can't function running a business that way when everybody gets disturbed by somebody coming in on something else. We needed to be a functioning building where everybody had their own room. This was the answer. It took a long time to get it here. So that takes care of one of the big reasons we needed a new building. And then it was to find it. Now, a lot of people may not have pride in this. Maybe I'm foolish because I got pride in this town. I've been here from the beginning. I care about the town. I grew up with people that are damn good people in this town. They cared about it. It made this town strong. There's not as much of that anymore. Why? I'm not sure. Maybe it'll come back, but if we destroy everything around it, it won't, because it won't be there. That building is not the greatest thing in the world, but it's part of this town. The front part of the building is historical. The back, no, but the front, definitely. It should be saved. Should we support it? No, not unless we can figure out something to do with it. What I'm saying is, reach out. I don't know how much advertising, how much knowledge is out there for people to look at this fact, geez, this might be available for us. We don't need money for it. Set up a lease, whatever it takes, $1, whatever, for them to take it, maintain it, and operate out of it as a benefit for the community. That's why I said 4-H, seniors, whatever. Yes, seniors could use this. Yes, seniors could use the firehouse, which they're doing. But seniors use this building that we're sitting in for a good many years that sat over there.
Right.
And the reason it's not getting used is most of those seniors passed away. And it went away. They didn't have water. There wasn't only a couple members left. Couldn't afford it. It sat empty. The owner of the property wanted it gone. Bang. This would be a new opportunity. I don't know if they'd be interested. I haven't talked to them. But it's certainly worth trying because what a great place for them. And anybody that's voted at the firehouse know how great those seniors are. They were set up in the back room, putting on their little breakfasts and cooking for lunches. That's a great Pownell thing. That's something you don't feel everywhere. We need to hold some of that. We've got it. Let's not throw it away without totally exhausting the fact of letting stupidity run in and take over.
Can I ask you a clarification question?
You certainly
You-
may.
Thank you. The point you made about the front of the building being historic, but the back not being historic. So that's like the second time I've just heard this in like less than an hour. Are you suggesting perhaps saving the front of the building and maybe not the back? Or I don't want to put words in your mouth. I'm just curious.
No, I would not suggest that
Okay.
because we have no idea what would take place. If you had a group like, say, 4-H,
Mhm.
they usually have little working stations. We did when I was a kid. And you've got that whole back space that could be utilized for that. And the office space out front could be for other things. You don't tear it apart unless you have to. But if you were gonna dismantle it and just keep it for a center of the town statue, yes, the front part would be the one worth keeping. The original safe in that, if I'm not mistaken, came from the building across the road from Landon's. It's in the front of that building over there. So that definitely goes back a few years. There's things that, it's the center of town. There don't have to be an awful lot said about it.
Thank you, Steve.
John McShee, Jackson Crossroads. I just have a question and then a little quick comment. Comment first is, based off just that number that we just heard over there, then it's, you're looking at a $30,000 minimum to get it cleaned up right now. That's a minimum. I'm sure it'll come in higher than 28,000, I think is what she said on it. So it's gonna cost that minimum to the town right now just to get it cleaned up enough.
That's not a cleanup. That's a foundation, to do
Right.
foundation work, just to be clear.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The foundation.
Just the foundation. That's not the total cost to make it
The rest of the building.
exactly. It's not a renovation. That's just the foundation price, just so everyone's clear on that.
Right, so that's what I'm saying, it's like, that's gonna be a minimum right there.
Mhm.
That you'd have to have into it, at least 30, you're saying. That's just to clean the building, that's gonna be more money on the town, that's what I think the town needs to know is people are gonna have to fork out more to do that. And the question I had was, is there any NOAVs written on the building? We know that,
Notice of violation? you mean?
yeah, from the state.
Not that I'm aware of or that I've found.
I don't remember ever hearing of,
I heard.
I've been on the board
When
and
we had all that talk about this building, that there was NOAVs written on the building, that was one of
Just
over the mold and stuff out.
there was
Done an inspection and all that.
occupancy stuff that fire marshal came down and did.
Yeah, this would have been the state that did the mold.
I haven't seen any and I've been through Linda's files, like, I've been through all of that stuff. I haven't seen anything.
Okay.
Can I speak for Jeff a minute? If you are gonna utilize that building, say some group for non-living quarters or an occupancy like 4-H course, seniors for somebody to do daily activities, you would not have to pour a foundation. You would not have to pour a slab. You know as well as I do, they used to build buildings on piers. It's on wooden piers, if I'm not mistaken now. If you took off the claddings around the basement of that, underneath of that, would have an airflow underneath it. That would be subjected to all the moisture staying underneath it, because it would flow from underneath. Insulate the floors, put plywood there, that problem solved for that type of occupancy. For living quarters, maybe not the greatest, but for a daily event or project rooms, it's like a mobile home. Most of them are put on foundations.
Any more comments in the room, Jenny?
Yeah, just
Wonder if there's
I'd like
anybody on
to
Facebook.
clarify that I don't care if it's torn down. I'm not suggesting to tear it down. I don't actually have a strong feeling about that. My strong feeling is about the town and the taxpayers not paying to maintain that building, to fix that building up. If it's salvageable and doesn't have the mold issue, sell it. This has nothing to do with Pownell pride. I believe that there's Pownell pride with every single person in this room, including me, even though I didn't grow up here. As far as this being disruptive, you can do some acoustical treatment to this room to make it less disruptive. The town owns this building, not the staff. And I appreciate the staff working here and I appreciate you very much. But if it's disruptive, you can soundproof this room. I am married to an acoustical expert. You're welcome to hire him to do that. It'll cost less than taking care of that. Yeah, if it's salvageable enough, exactly have someone else take it over. Oh, right. I mean, what Stephen is saying with all of those organizations, great. So 4-H buys it from the town or whatever organization or not-for-profit wants to use it, or a not-for-profit who wants to use it for all sorts of social activities and community center and whatever. They can create all kinds of things. Have some enterprising person come along and build it and hopefully they come. But if they do or not, that's their problem, not the town's and not our tax.
I'm gonna ask for any public comment on, unless there's somebody else in the room who hasn't spoken yet.
Can I just ask a question? Please. Can we sell the buildings considering that it's on town land, it's all one parcel?
That needs more research and we haven't, I can't give you a definitive answer on that. Okay? Is there anybody else on Zoom that would care to comment on this now? And I apologize that I should have asked before anybody went another time, but.
Bob and Jim both have their hands up and I did see Bob's hand first.
Okay.
Bob Jarvis.
Yep, that's fine.
Thanks for having this meeting. I do appreciate that and soliciting the input. Bob Jarvis, Mount Anthony Road. I agree with a lot of the comments about this really shouldn't be a burden to the town. I don't think we should be putting more money into it. That's what we sold everybody on the new town office. One of the things, having a private group do something with that is probably going to be a better option than the town continuing to own it. And I don't know if anybody's reached out to them. And full disclosure, I haven't either, so I don't even know if they're open to it. But I think two birds with one stone would be if the town were to quit claim both the church and the old town hall to the church. You'll never have separation of church and state if the town owns the church. And since it's very co-located, they could probably do something with that space, including things like community centers. I think those kinds of things work better when they're being done by libraries, churches, and volunteer groups than administered by the taxpayers.
Is that it, Bob?
That's it.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I didn't want to cut you off, but I wasn't sure if you were
I
done.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Already said the US is shutting them out of.
Hello, gentlemen. I'm Jim Kosis, North Mason Hill Road, Pownell. First of all, I just like to really thank all the people that did show up at the meeting tonight. It does take a town to run a town. Just a cliche from a village to raise a child, but in any case, I'm glad we're at this point of having a hearing. Unfortunately, for the past 6 months, we've been having discussions on, or a one-sided discussion on what's going to happen to that building. A committee of 6 versus the townspeople. And I think it was great that we finally got to the point of having a hearing and inviting everyone to come in and speak their piece. I agree with a lot of what was said by every single person that was sitting there. Everyone is making sense. Everyone is giving suggestions. Everyone is giving some type of criticism, whether it's for the board, whether it's things that have happened in the past, how we can move forward. So hopefully I won't repeat, but I'm just going to go down the list of things that I kind of listed that I've heard. Number one, the building cannot be open 24 hours. There's a liability with the town. There's no way that we can just leave a key at a door and allow anyone to use that building. It's just not a feasibility for townspeople to be worried about what could happen over that building. There are people that don't have places to live, don't have places to sleep. I wouldn't want to have that be an open place. The historical value of that building, I'm not sure if it's historical in the eyes of the people or certain people. I'd like to see maybe the Historical Society find out if there is anything that could be made historical about that and it be labeled as an historical building. I don't think I've seen anything that says it is a historical building other than it's an old building and we all appreciate when it was first built. The cost of the foundation, $28,000, that's just the beginning. I've seen the video that was nice enough taken by, and I'm just going to put a plug out for Carl Villanova, who was able to go in there and do a video so people can see what the inside looks like. It looks the same thing as when I was treasurer back in 1990. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's the same rug that was in there at that time. Maybe it's been updated. If so, I'll take back my comment. It was hard to tell in the video, but there is going to be so much expense to build or upgrade that building. The bathroom is nowhere able to be handicapped for a wheelchair to get in there. The cost is, it's unbelievable what that cost will be. I'm not going to go through being a town person, doing everything shortcut anymore. This town needs to have a plan. It needs to have a discussion. It needs to have an outside feasibility study. There's lots of stuff that need to happen before we jump into doing anything. Unfortunately, 6 months ago, we jumped in and got a grant before we even wanted this discussion. That's not what we should have done. Next, I mean, we need to maybe look at what Shasbury is doing up there with their new town office. They're having a whole process. They're involving everyone, and it's a good discussion to watch up there. Next, I'd like to, Mike, you spoke on it, the deed. We need documentation on that. We need to find out what is the whole property situation. The town has lots of stuff on the agenda now. We have a transfer station that you guys have said it's losing money. Well, it may be losing money, but if we need to do something to help out the landfill, which is most important right now than a community center, I'd rather put more time into the landfill, find out what we can do down there. Yes, it's great. You guys are now doing a new compactors and everything like that. I'm worried that we don't have proper drawings. Everything is being done by pen and paper. It scares me. Anything that happens needs an as-built document for people down the road, 150 years from now, to know what happened, how was it created, everything like that. I don't think we're doing that properly in this town. It's time we move forward in how we do lots of stuff. Let me go. Reappraisal's coming up. It goes along with the cost. I don't think we need to start going into something like this at this point. It should be on the drawing board and go through whatever process. We're gonna need a new firehouse. Is there a way to develop into the firehouse a community center? Why waste the money on a building like this and then do the same thing when the firehouse comes along and say, well, we could put a community center in here. It would be great. We have churches, fellowships. We have the library. I give Jim Boutin and his librarian, his new librarian, which we're funding, to come up with these great ideas to allow the community to use it. This is where we need to go. Let's see. What else? The schoolhouse. How many years did the schoolhouse sit over there? Yes, the senior citizens were in the schoolhouse, but the town had no involvement in it at all. They ran it by themselves. If that's what needs to happen with this building, that's great. Let it happen, but I'm not going to pay for it there. Now, as for the marker, if there is a marker there, it's the center of town. It will always be the center of town. No one's going to take a marker away. No one's going to wipe it off the map or anything like that. And if the building needs to be there, maybe it's great to have the front building kept, because that's the historical part. The back building it's not historical. It's just an add-on there. So maybe if we wanted to keep that and keep the costs at a minimum of just heating it so people can walk in there and say, what was it like when the first person came into that building and recorded their deed? That's fine. The liability of insurance will not be as high as if we have a group of people that go into that building constantly on keys or anything like that. And if there's a hard time trying to keep hold of people using the building or what you're sitting in right now, think about who's going to have to walk across that little area to keep the building locked up and everything like that. It's just not feasible. Let me just go through my emergency services, landfill. I hit all of those. So first of all, thank you again. And let's just not move quickly on this. Let's take our time and, like you're doing tonight, find out more information about what the people of this town actually need. I don't see them knocking on the door saying we need a community center. So thank you and have a good night. And again, thank you to all the people that are there.
Anyone else with their hand up, Hannah?
I'm not online.
Nobody out there? Anybody else in the room?
But just general observation, over the past several years, it seems like this town has shifted its focus away, not away from, but to a lesser degree of taking care of the issues that people are concerned about in this town. Putting their energy more into, and this is my observation, the energy being put more into acquisition and holding of properties than it is into finding the resources to provide for the needs of the taxpayer. I think we're finding ways to drive our taxes up higher more than we're doing anything else. Thank you.
Jim?
The gentleman that spoke brought up a number of scary issues. We have a transfer station that needs to be capped. Do we have any figures as to what that's going to cost the taxpayers?
They're still testing
They're still testing. What about the appraisal? Do we have any idea what a new appraisal is gonna cost us?
Yeah, so that we are under contract. We have an assigned agreement with Nemrick. And I believe it's somewhere around 184. I just gave him the today.
$184,000?
Yep, we have that in our fund already, to cover the cost of that.
Do they have any idea what it's gonna cost to build a new firehouse?
No,
No. We got a lot of expenses coming down at us, don't we?
Is that it, Jim?
Yeah.
I didn't want to cut you off. I don't want to do that.
Oh,
Sorry. I just don't want to cut anybody off. Anything else in the room? That's it? We're done already? Come on.
It's the question about assessments that's, since it was brought up, even though it's not about the. Am I wrong in saying, anyone who understands numbers here? If the assessment sends the value of all of those of us who own properties up, it doesn't necessarily mean our taxes go up because the same amount will be the same amount needs to be gathered. So I think the fear of assessment is a little bit overblown. I mean, I know I'm terrified about it, but then I realize that it's not just my house that will go up, so my taxes will go to $75,000 a year. If everyone goes up, everyone still pays the same portion. So you understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
So I'm just trying to clarify that as a piece of.
and almost the entire state, almost the entire state has had to go
Right, so
through the appraisal.
the statewide property taxes, right, will be proportional to what the property you own. So I just want to like say that to alleviate the fears that everyone has about the upcoming assessments. I hope I explained that in a way that is
Anna,
understandable.
you got something?
Just when Jenny was done, I just want to let you know that Jim has his hand up here.
Okay. So what I don't want to do, it's kind of, I'm kind of at a loss here for myself, to be honest with you, because we're having a public hearing and great conversation. I don't want to get off track.
Yeah.
No, I understand, Jenny, and that's why that's why I'm having trouble with this, right? Because I really like the input that's coming out all the way around, okay? Whether it's about emergency services or the library or the assessment or whatever people have said. But I also don't want to get into a whole nother can of worms. So I appreciate everything, but I would love to stay on track. And I don't think I think you can kind of circle them, right? And bring them back. I just want to stay on track with the town hall. So if Jim has something on Zoom that he would care to talk about the town hall, that would be great. I'd welcome that comment for sure. Other than that, I would, appreciate it, Jim. I appreciate it, Jim, if it's not related to the town hall, to just not.
This is really the real one. Program director.
Now, I'm gonna bow away with my question. It was just referring to the last person. I'll leave it up to you guys to explain the reappraisal when that time comes up for a public hearing.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I don't mean to cut anybody off. I just don't want to get sidetracked because right now it's been awesome. This has been more than probably more than what we anticipated. For positivity. And I really appreciate that.
I got one thing I want to say.
Yep, Jamie.
We did look into moving this and attaching it to the Old Town Hall, but we don't own enough property to do so.
Look like other money managers.
The property envelope isn't larger than the town hall itself. The back portion actually is the neighbor's property. So that's just to clarify. I mean, we were looking at quite a few different things at the time, and I was sitting on the board during that whole thing, and judging by the information that we had at the time, like I say, we didn't find the other information out till after we moved. So you're not alone being upset as far as feeling duped. But I still stand strongly that in favor that we did the right thing building this, because like Steve said, that was it was an open area and there was no privacy. If a townsperson came in and needed to take, and they may have had a personal issue they were dealing with, to take and work with somebody in the office. And they don't want it all through the town. They want to be able to deal with the individual. I mean, there's a lot of pluses moving in here. And I feel we've come a long way in the last few years. There's obviously more work to be done, and, if people, feel free to bring stuff up. I mean, whether email, people stop and talk to me in the, outside of in the store or wherever. I mean, if you have a concern, there's no member on this board. If we get an email of a certain concern, at least one or two of us, if not all of us, go look at the concern. So I just want you to know that we do care. There was a lot of thought process for us to get into this building. It wasn't an easy thing to take, and, we knew that there was going to be a burden with the dollar amount requesting from the taxpayers. So that's all.
Anybody else on board?
Yeah, but Jamie, to echo that, I will say that I do think it is helpful as well, thinking about building this space, the additional room to have private discussions in offices. Like, people come in here, we all see this. We've all been in here for various reasons. And I do appreciate the fact that I can go to Tara's office and close the door, right? Or to Wendy's office, like go somewhere else and close that door to handle different kinds of business in this town. And that is helpful. I will say I'm also very sympathetic to the idea that there are other people and groups in this town who would like to use this space we're all sitting in. I have gone to talk to the seniors group and have had a really good conversation, and I would encourage anybody to go there. And they're not exactly satisfied. I get it with where they are right now in the fire hall. And they, from the conversation I had, felt like, they've kind of been moved around a couple of times. And it would be nice to meet somewhere on Tuesday mornings where they weren't worried about mice. Like, that was a big complaint, because they do like to cook and have food, and where it was warm in the winter. And they would like to be in this space early Tuesday mornings, is what they told me when we had the conversation, from like 6:45 a.m. until 9:30 or 10 a.m. Right. And so that is, I think, a legitimate request as well, which they haven't formally made of this board, but it was a conversation. So I hear what you're saying, and that there are groups that might like to use this, but not necessarily want a community center. So I really appreciate that feedback.
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, and that's before the staff gets here. And if it's the seniors can be trusted to own a key to get in this space. But if people do start, as I was talking before, about banging on the door, needing community space, we taxpayers pay for the library. We don't pay for it. We contribute to the library. So wouldn't it make sense if someone calls the town office saying, I'm looking for a space, that the town says the library is available and puts them in touch and has a direct line to the library? I appreciate that we have this building. I love that the elections happen here now. It's so much more intimate, and it's so much more comfortable for those of us who work the elections. And I have no buyer's remorse about this building. I just want someone else to handle that building. That's it. That's the bottom line.
Anybody else on the board? Oh, Jason, sorry.
I wasn't gonna speak, but I will. I'm Jason Olansky at Niles School Road, and I'm also the fire chief. Just so people understand also, our well, the firehouse well is in that building also, at the time being. And just so people understand, right now, we are actively pursuing an agreement on another piece of property. If that does follow through, we're not sure what's going to happen with that piece of property right there. But I agree with people saying, we should kind of slow it down a little bit right now, because I think what's going to happen is the fire department's going to come to the town and discuss the size of room, community room, call it whatever you want to call it, but a meeting space in that building besides the 2 truck bays. We could probably be coming looking for some input on the size of that room.
Anybody else?
Donna.
Oh, sorry, Donna.
So just one quick comment and then a question, actually. I think the very room that we're in is a testament to the fact that we all care about the history of Pownell, which is why we're sitting where we're sitting. And so while I can appreciate a lot of the comments about the historical nature of it, we can't save everything. That's just the nature of life. But now that you've heard a lot of the feedback from folks, and I'm assuming, you know, hopefully everyone is very impartial and looking at this with an open mind going forward, what do you anticipate after this Saturday? Or do you not know?
No, there's no anticipation on my part, and I'm speaking for myself only. There has been absolutely zero discussion from any member on this board together, whether it was in a meeting or 2 of us or whatever outside of a meeting. This was an idea that I came up with however many weeks ago or whatever it was to start a conversation. I heard the grumblings, which were justified around town, that you know wasn't any town input. You know, I heard those. That's why we're here. You know, the public hearing, if you watch that, I don't remember when it was done. I don't remember what yesterday was, but the meeting when I proposed these public hearings, that was my idea that night, plain and simple. And Brian had a great idea to have one on Saturday, so people who can't be here tonight. You know, I think that's kind of setting the precedence too. And Brian and I actually had a discussion the other night about that out here, just the 2 of us. So I don't think there's any anticipation whatsoever. There has been, like I said, absolutely no discussion moving forward. I've heard some things tonight that I didn't think about. I'll be honest with you, and I try to think about a lot of things before we jump in anywhere. So one thing that I'd like to ask, and I know this is hard, and I have several former board members sitting in this room right now, whether they're besides the 5 of us that are sitting up here, right? There's several former board members in here. One thing I'd like to ask, to maybe not keep bringing up all the time, because it is, and it's a fact, and I get it, but we keep regurgitating on the fact that different select boards over the years have been duped or whatever with some information that wasn't presented accurately. I don't think that's any board's fault. Okay, I don't think we can point fingers at any past select board dating back 20 years or whatever it started, right, Steve? I don't know when it started, but it's been a long time. I don't think we can point fingers at any one select board or any group of board members and say, well, they really duped the town. I think boards in general, just my opinion, Steve and Jason, you guys that were on the boards in the past, I think there was so much motivation to get a new space for all of the town employees. For the first and foremost thing was privacy, but because there was no privacy in that building for somebody to come in and talk to the assessor. My taxes are crazy. Why? Everybody in town knew that John was complaining about his taxes because it's just the way it was, right? Because everybody was there or whatever, right? And so I think there was some overzealous, I guess, for lack of a better term right now, kind of movement for reasons like that. And I don't think things were really, you know, I think somebody said, oh, there's mold in there, and everybody went crazy, right? And it's crazy mold and, you know, whatever. So I would love to see that regurgitation, just kind of let it go. We're not going to tear this down. We're not going to move back up there. We're not going to sell this, right, as a town. We're just not going to. And I think every single person that's sitting in this room right now is incredibly proud when you look at it of what we have here in this building, right? When you drive up and down Route 7, you look at it, I do, and I can look around this room and I can almost guarantee that every single person in here does the same thing. Come off Barberstown Road, you look at it and you say, it really looks nice. I'm proud of that building in the town right now. That's my, when I say mine, I mean mine, right? That's my town office. So I'd like to ask people, and I hope we can move away from that, and let's just move forward with what the process, what we need to do to come to an agreement. Right, Jim?
Getting back to the building itself, I'm a little confused. Was there a reason that a boundary issue? When Mr. Percy spoke, it sounded like there was a boundary issue with the building property.
No.
No, there isn't.
No, we didn't have room enough to put this schoolhouse on that. Right.
Oh, yeah, okay. But that property could be then sold. Am I correct?
We don't know that for sure.
I'm not sure.
We've been told yes, we've been told no.
And
so it would have to be subdivided to start with, and that's a whole nother.
But you would have the authority to list that property if it could be sold. Am I correct? The board?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when I was on the school board years ago, we sold the schoolhouse down there.
Right.
We made that decision.
I believe the board could make that decision if it were deemed that it could be sold. Yes.
Okay, and so the decision has to be made whether or not it can be.
Right.
And how would that come, how would we come about that decision?
I think that's a legal thing
We have
that.
to consult with our town attorney.
Yes.
I suggest maybe we should do that.
And you'd find you'd have to get it surveyed.
Yeah, we would.
That some other property lines, unless they've been changed over the years, aren't exactly where they're thought to be.
Well, a survey would definitely be.
Yes.
There may be some interruptions on what is for real and what is almost for real.
And I think all of that's correct, but it's all hypothetical, right?
Yes.
No one has a correct answer right now on any of that, right? And, one of the things that struck me tonight that I hadn't thought about at all, was downsizing the building. And I personally hadn't thought about, because I'm a US history person. That was one of my things in school and whatever. And the historical part of it for me means a tremendous amount personally, not as a board member, but just personally. So the back portion of the building is not a historical portion, for sure. But the front definitely is a historical portion of the building. So one of the things that struck me tonight, which, like I said, that I hadn't even thought about at all, was maybe we do take the back part of the building off, and maybe we think about keeping just the front for a historical portion of the building. We have our history center underneath this building right here. One of the comments on our survey was sort of a welcome center type thing if we were to promote the town green a little more, as the BCRC's been working with us a little bit on. And I say that because Scott Grimlines is with us tonight from the BCRC. It's just, it's just a thought that popped into my head that, well, maybe that's a possibility, and the costs are definitely reduced for sure. I think it does reduce because of the size, it would reduce the groups or people who would have access or be able to use it. But maybe, and it's just a thought, right? Please don't think it's something I'm going to propose or whatever, because it's not. It's just a thought that I had. And I hope that other people that are watching and listening and commenting and whatever here or on Zoom or watching it in the future, or even come in Saturday, somebody that can make it is going to come in. I would hope that everyone has formed similar thoughts, not that thought itself, but just kind of had their eyes opened in different ways. And, I think that's the goal. that was my goal of having a public hearing, or a couple of them, just to see what's going on. And that's my take from tonight. It's kind of simple, I guess, but I took a bunch of notes. That at some point we will, as a board, go over these notes and talk about different things and different options and hopefully some more ideas come up on Saturday. Not that I want to set anybody off if they had a comment right now. That's not what I'm going for. But I'm hoping some new, maybe we get a couple new ideas on Saturday. Maybe we get a whole bunch of ideas. Maybe somebody's got the answer and they're gonna write a check to take care of everything and give it to us on Saturday, but I'm probably not gonna happen, but.
Yeah, you're optimistic.
It took over 20 years this far.
Yeah.
Between the expense and,
right,
which was one of the bigger things.
And the process.
Fortunately, the 20 years added a lot to the expense.
And I gotta tell you, I'm gonna be upfront and honest with you. Steve knows this because we had a discussion where this building sits right here, right now. When the select board bought this piece of property at the time, I was mad because the select board bought this piece of property basically without the taxpayers weighing in. But I also said that once this piece of property was owned by the town, now guess what? Now I own it. Might only own a blade of grass out there, but I own a portion of this piece of property now. And I hope that everybody.
And to go back even one step further, it's gone now, but I don't think there's anybody in this room. They may have bitched about that Christmas tree that was out there. I heard a lot of people say, Jesus, that's ridiculous, expensive lighting it. But I don't think there was a person that came from either direction that didn't see that and go, wow. So that was us.
Can I say too, I want to be clear. I think that something we've all heard, I've certainly heard it, and that is slow down. And I think that even after Saturday, I don't think that anybody up here is saying, well, then after Saturday, we make a decision. I think that we need to move at the speed of trust in this town. And I think that we need to have more conversations. And we may not have any good, clear direction where to go after next Saturday. Maybe we keep having some conversations. But I appreciate this forum. I appreciate Mike thinking of it. And I really look forward to this in the future around other issues in this town, like having more direct community participation. It's all over a town. So.
I think that's a goal that I kind of had in mind for this year, all the way through different things. Anybody else have any comments?
Jim Costas one more time. First of all, Mike, thank you very much on what you just kind of recapped on the whole thing and what you're hearing from the people that are there. I think I want to just make sure that before we even think about what's going to happen in the next 6 months, 1 year, whenever, that we do first of all put more strength on trying to figure out the property deed around that area. But I would like to request that it not be the town lawyer, because unfortunately there is a conflict that I can understand between the town owning certain property and someone else owning the property. I'd like to see the town to find out what we can do with that old town office, and I'm keeping the old town office in the discussion here of what we can do with that. But maybe go outside and get a separate lawyer to kind of look at the deed search and do a survey and all of that. I'm willing to pay a little extra in taxes to just make sure we know what property is owned there and not rely on just what was in the grand list. Yeah. Thank you very much. And you guys all have a good night.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room have anything? Nothing else on Zoom, Hannah? Board members?
Nope, I'm good.
I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second it.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thanks for the input.
Yeah.
It was,
Everybody.
it was super